GM, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Migrations Day. And number, I think, 7 on the platform's history.
That's right.
But every team is unique and awesome. I'm excited to learn more about all of the projects. I did pin up to the top just another migration announcement on Spaces, just celebrating all of the teams who are migrating. Chris, what's good today? How are we feeling?
What is good? Happy moving day. So always fun to pack the bags up and get ready to move. Cohort 7 starting line. It does feel at the same time like this just started, that it's also been going on forever. So 7 seems like a big number, but it's actually, relatively small. But a lot of interest, a lot of teams on the move, and a lot of people having, different stories of success on the other side. So it's always great to see. And like you mentioned earlier, every team has a different reason for migrating, and that's kind of what makes this this kind of experience so special and unique.
It is interesting that the market's pretty bad right now. Nothing new though. This is our, I guess, 4th bear market that we've been a part of. So sentiment is quite low, just as it usually is. But this is generally the time for change. If you're going to make a significant change in your company's history, you want to do it at the low when it's really just the believers that are left, right? You can kind of shed some of the fat. You can really realign and double down on, what got you to where you are today. The 70 teams that we've helped migrate over the last 5 to 6 months all come for different reasons, but the similarities are that they found some initial traction somewhere along the kind of market volatility. Some of the community members were lost or the brand changed or something happened. And it's a time now to kind of unify that initial vision, double down, and ensure that you're ready for, the second chance, or as we say, fresh start, fresh start, right? As normal. Adam right now, who will be joining us here, is recording tutorial videos for all of the migrating teams that you could go ahead and share once he puts them in our Telegram chat with you for your community, as he makes them all specifically curated to each and every project. Before we do go around and start the conversations, we'll say hello to Trail to Crypto, who's watching on the live stream. What is good, bro? Good to see you. Always a true believer. So far, I've got some traction. It looks like on all 4 projects already. Mitchie in the lead with 0.4% migrated, Anova at 0.3, Root at 0.1, and Y2K at 0.1. All the migrations are going to last between 10 to 14 days, with the majority of them ending on February 10th. So will be exciting. I knew we do have on stage a handful.
March 10th.
March 10th, my bad. We do have on stage Mr. Wizard, who's here with Y2K. We do have Plowed that's on stage. And then I did invite Taruki on stage, who's part of BNB or BB. I do not see the Mitchie guys, so if they show up, then we'll invite them. Start with you, Mr. Wizard, man. I got to say, I love the meme. Long nostalgia makes complete sense. As Chris and I are fellow millennials, it really rings, to our golden days of playing Game Boy in bed all day. What's good?
What's up, man? Yeah, I'm very hyped. Migration's live. Posted a tweet with the migration link. So we've had people do it, which is very cool. Appreciate so you're filming a tutorial for it? Just to confirm that.
Yeah. Adam's recording a tutorial. He'll post it in the Y2K chat, and then you could go ahead and post the tutorial.
Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, we're hyped. We're Y2K. If people do not know about our project or who we are, I'm Wizard, one of the leads on the project. Simulate's also up here. He helps out. And yeah, we're all about essentially tokenized nostalgia. A lot of us have most of our nostalgia based on like the 90s and 2000s. Like that's kind of what we grew up on, and we feel like that was a very important moment in history that just a lot of people are nostalgic for, because it was kind of this transition from the monologue age into the digital age. So it's one of the, I guess, most important transitions in history. And I think that through that, we essentially created the narrative of just nostalgia as a whole, because we view Y2K as just being tokenized nostalgia in general. And our, I guess, core ethos and mission that we're trying to do here is the idea of reviving culture. And the reason that we're very passionate about this kind of mission is because if you think about the 90s and 2000s, when we had this blossom of new technology, and it was almost like a cultural renaissance where people were experimenting, people were very passionate about technology. Everything was very fun and innovative and new, and it was much more about community and joy. And we're kind of losing that way. And our goal is essentially to remind people through the lens of nostalgia how great things can be. So that's just a little short spiel about what we do. And also check out our main page, because our content's unbelievable. But yeah, there's a lot I can get into, but I'll leave it at that.
And on the live stream, I here pulled up the website. It looks like AOL.com or Windows 95 with a bunch of the kind of old website links. On here. It looks good. DVDs, right?
An absolute vibe. Great job with the site and everything. Looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting to say the least. We will circle around and go a little bit deeper into all of the projects who are here on stage, but I will say hello to Plowed, who is also rebranding the token to Root. How are you feeling today? Happy Migration Day.
Hey.
Was good.
Yeah, there's two of us here today. We've got Lindy on the main Plowed channel, and myself as well. And our other founder is sadly
unavailable. Hey, can you close that window? There you go. Cool. Gotcha.
All right, so whoever is from the Plowed team, give us the details on what Plowed is, and then as you rebrand to Root.
Yeah, well, it's a long story, but we'll try and go
We got some time, my
with
friend.
a short version. Oh, I like it. I like it. So, so Len, did you want me to take this on? I've already got a little bit of a storyline for it, but so jump in by all means.
Take it away, Farmer. I'll ping you.
If I start waffling, please just jump in. But effectively, Lendy, myself, and the third founder, Wolf, we never started off as founders or project leaders. We were basically just crypto bros and gamers, and we just love the space. We love the market, and we kind of just, you know, we're big into the NFT element of things, and that's where we kind of met, and where we started our first toe dip into projects, into creating our own project, was more of a fan base type of project, whereby we would be like the central point for strategies and ideas, and potentially even like a middleman marketplace for people that were playing different games and wanted to buy, sell, swap NFTs or swap characteristics, or just discuss strategies. And we'd have spaces doing that, and we'd do that for a varied number of projects, and some of them have been brilliant and they're still in existence today, and they've been absolutely brilliant, but others not so much. So we thought to ourselves, you know, we put our money where our mouth is, and basically go forward and try and create our own project. We spent a long time and a lot of money, because we didn't want to necessarily fundraise or take money from the community without being sure that we had something working. Because at the end of the day, it was new for us. And what we've tried to do with Playwood is have that old school board game feeling, but in the Web3 space. So hopefully, as soon as you start playing the game, you immediately know what the game is all about. So we started off with a snakes and ladders type of theme, but instead of snakes, we have a wolf, and instead of a ladder, we have an owl, and we have a farmer that is going across the board. So if there's any hint of narcissism there where we've used our own names in there, you're 100% right. That's exactly what we've done. And the idea is effectively to move across the board, but where the interesting element and the community element steps in is on each square that you land on, which we're calling plots. You can effectively buy, and then you'll collect rent, a little bit like Monopoly. So you can collect rent, which will be in the form of the token, which will be root as it comes out. And likewise, whilst you're earning, when you land on a plot, you'll also have to pay rent as well if somebody else owns it. So getting the mechanisms and getting everything right so that people can effectively buy plots, sell plots, rent can be shared between 2, 3, 4, potentially dozens of people in terms of the plots that they own, was a nightmare. And what we also wanted to do is we didn't want to let people be stuck with a plot if they wanted to get out. So you can also sell your plot as well. So getting all of that mechanism in place and get it working has taken a lot of testing and a lot of time to effectively get there. Our aim was to kind of do this away from NFTs and move towards just tokens and effectively having a token. So you don't need an NFT to play. As long as you own root, or as long as you have some root, you can jump in the game and play. We did end up using NFTs as almost like a pre-sale element of things, whereby you effectively own a plot of land if you own an NFT. But when the game is live, you are not advantaged or disadvantaged in any way by not having an NFT. So anybody can come in and start effectively playing the game. And those with NFTs just have that tiny little head start of basically having the plots already with their NFTs, and have that element of the vanity element of things, because that their farmer will be that NFT. Where we struggled, and which is where you guys have massively helped us out, I would say, is we had our own token called Playwood. Hence, we built the game Playwood Earth. Now, this token we've had for some time, and the whole basis of that token was never around gaming. It was around other elements of the project that we had. It was elements for gated elements of our Discord, and we've kind of tried to shoehorn that token effectively into this game. And as good of an idea as it was, when we've looked at it and as time's gone by, effectively that token is quite an old token which has had various uses. So when you look at the chart, it's like the Alps. It's up and down, left, right, and centre. So we thought if we're starting fresh with the game, let's start fresh with a token. Hence, we found you guys who have been awesome with just discussing to us how the system works and how everything tends to go forward. So we went into the migrate fund element of things, and that's where we are today. So as soon as our token is migrated, which is what, in 2 weeks, we're looking to release the game literally pretty much straight after that. Our last update was finished a couple of days ago, and well, genuinely, I fully appreciate that I'm biased when I say this, but I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for people to see it. But that's where we are.
Is it basically kind of like a Farmville type of Web3 game, essentially?
To an extent, but you aren't necessarily growing plants and growing
exactly
crops. Yeah, so you're effectively moving across a board, and like Monopoly, you can effectively buy a plot of land.
Yes.
There's other elements to it as well to keep people playing and keep people engaged, but in essence, that's the game. And the more land you own, the more rent you earn. So yeah, that's and rent is would be in Playwood, which is now going to be Root.
Love how the gaming sector of crypto was trying to build these like crazy futuristic games like Other Side. And now it's all divulging back down to just nostalgia, board games, right? Farmville, like the early kind of mobile gaming. It's awesome to see because that's generally what ends up working.
100%. And I think there's enough gate out there for people to jump into Web3 gaming, and I think everybody that's been in it has always said, let's try and get that Web2 space in here because we want mass adoption in there. So we just thought initially, let's get rid of one gate, which was the NFT gate, and then the second gate is just kind of learning how to play the game, because a lot of us, I know I'm speaking for myself, when I go into a game, if I don't understand it within the first 5 minutes and don't get what it's all about, unless I'm massively invested in the game, I'm probably going to walk away. Whereas with this, the aim is basically day dot minute one, you are good to go and you know exactly what's going on and how it works. It's as long as you understand snakes and ladders and a little bit of Monopoly, you're good to go. There's no other hidden elements to it whatsoever.
Awesome. Well, Adam's back. Did all of the migrations go well?
Yep, easy peasy, man. Everybody, if you haven't already, just check your Telegram. I sent you, or Discord. I guess we're in one of the teams in Discord. Yeah, you should have your how-tos there, how-to videos. Just be sure to put them out with your community so everybody knows how to do. I mean, it's super easy, but you just don't want people getting mixed up, tricked. I mean, the typical problem, anybody listening, typically the problem is you forgot to have a little bit of soul in your wallet, or you're in the wrong freaking wallet. Like that happens unbelievably amount of times. So make sure you're in the wallet with the old tokens, and make sure you have $1 or $2 in gas. But yeah, seamless process.
Awesome. So we do have two other teams who are here on stage, and just as an update, Root is taking the lead, 2.4% migrated, Mitchie and Innova at 0.5 and Y2K at 0.3. We are super early, but people are migrating and moving around. We do have on Taruki, who's on stage. Taruki is the founder of Backyard Bandwidth. That's rebranding to Innova. How are you good? How are you doing, bro?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Backyard Bandwidth. The quote says, "Janky but reliable, stateless private LLMs." What is Backyard Bandwidth?
So just to give you guys a little bit of background, we were looking into becoming a private cloud service provider. And we saw some issues within the industry where privacy providers would have their servers co-located in large data centers. And when you're in a large data center, you don't know who has access to your server, what sort of, sensors are on the backbone of that data center, looking into your users' private data. And long story short, we decided we need to build our old data centers. So we were looking for funding, and the BB token was launched on our behalf, and we were sort of in a collect the fees bro sort of situation, and we did collect the fees, and with those fees we're not only able to finish our data center build, but we are also able to build a large language model on a GPU cluster. And the purpose of this large language model is actually to be stateless and private. So anything you ask the model won't be stored. And we actually had to invent a technology we called Edge Vault to store the context of the model on the user's browser to ensure that everything is private. And why we're doing this migration is because the original launchpad we were on didn't provide us with much utility. And this migration is to address that utility so we can incorporate the token into our ecosystem and provide our users and our token holders a lot of utility. And that's the long story short.
Is it similar to, are you guys doing something similar to how kind of Venice is kind of obfuscating use of LLMs? Is it similar to that?
No, it's in memory only. And the memory is encrypted itself, and the context is stored on the user's browser. So it's actually something completely different, and in my mind, is more secure and more private.
So about Venice, then how do they do it differently than can you explain the two and how they differ?
Well, they're not using our Edge Vault technology, I'll tell you that. They're going to have to store the context locally just on how the LLM works. No one else is doing it how we're doing it with this Edge Vault. And how Edge Vault works is it just stores your context encrypted in a cookie on your browser. So I know that no one's using that technology because we invented it. And it's the only way to store context privately.
So storing it on my browser, that means I can delete it at any time and that sort of thing, right? Nobody has access to
Yeah,
it.
and it also auto deletes. It auto deletes on session. So,
Okay.
but it gives the user control on their AI context.
So the LLM, you're running your own proprietary LLM or model, open source model, or are you tapping into other models as well?
So we started with DeepSeek and we moved to Llama 3, and now we're actually looking at GPT OPS just as an upgrade. So, obviously I'm not $1 billion company. I can't invent a model. I don't have $1 billion worth of GPUs, but we can do training on a model. We have enough VRAM to do some training in the privacy aspect.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of products that are here on the website itself. So did I understand this correctly, that you got baited in by the bags community to claim the fees on the token? Is that what happened?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the main issue with bags is that the token all it did was generate revenue. And so, that doesn't really help our token users. And also we can't incorporate it in our ecosystem was the main problem. That's why we have no choice other than migrate. And bags unfortunately wasn't too keen on helping us or responding at all. And I'm not here to talk crap about them. I'm here to talk about my product. But yeah, that is the story.
So how does it feel now that you're in the crypto industry? Were you familiar with it beforehand? Had you ever built anything, or is this kind of your first foray into the business side
No,
of crypto?
I have a story like most where I was a miner back in 2015 when Bitcoin was $200. It's looking like it's going back there, but so I was one of the old fags in crypto, when no one even knew that it existed. But I kind of got burnt on it back in the day, so I kind of shoved it off and didn't think about it ever again. But now that we're here, it's looking like things are lively, and like you said, we're in a bear market. But hey, it's a good time to migrate. It's a good time to do some new things.
Yeah, completely agree. That's kind of our ethos as well. Always got to double down on the things that are winning. So as you migrate and introduce this into the ecosystem, what types of ideas do you have for the ANOVA token?
So we actually are thinking about having ANOVA integrate directly where, users can hold ANOVA to get tokens in our LLM. And we also have other ideas where, there's like auto airdrops, auto shilling, auto staking pools, and this would all be stuff you would interact with Innova to do. You're like, hey, please stake my token, and it will. Hey, please give me, training or trading values. We're planning on integrating it with DEX so it can look at trading. If you hold a certain amount, it's like, hey, I'll tell you, hey, this token's looking good or this token's looking bad. We have a lot of ideas, but we can't incorporate anything and kind of baseline what exactly we want to do until this migration ends. So there's definitely going to be more to come, but the world is open now that we can actually bring utility to the token and incorporate it in our ecosystem.
What do you how's like your user acquisition going? What are you doing to kind of obtain users? How many users kind of do you have on the platform? No like hard numbers if you don't feel comfortable or something like that.
No, it's totally fine. This is actually an issue we have with Innova, is that we can't tell really how many people are using it other than the paid subscriptions. And what I can tell you that we do have a large user base as of right now. We're in the tens of thousands of requests per day. And so I would say, like, even though we're still in the building phase, things are going really good. And, like you mentioned, we have other products like VPSs, S3 and VPNs. And, those are all within our own data center. And the thing we like to tell people is that we have layer 1 privacy, of the OSI model or the TCP/IP model. Like, it's layer 1 up. We're not in anyone else's data center. We're not in anyone else's network. It's all us. We own everything.
Where do you think those users are coming from? How did they kind of discover you? How are they kind of onboarded to the platform, do you think?
We're mainly active on Twitter and X, but we've also me and my business partner have been in the industry for a long time, so it's sort of word of mouth right now. We do have a future plan on actually building content on like short video content based on the data center. Like, hey, I booted up a server, or hey, I'm doing this upgrade, and sort of doing a social media push in the near future on on content. And I think it's an interesting thing, building your own data center. Like, we're small, we only have 5 racks, but it's still fascinating doing something from the ground up.
How do you look? Do you like, obviously VPS over the last, I don't know, month with OpenClaw has kind of taken off, and there's been a number of teams. I say a lot, but a number of teams kind of building this, like, push one button launcher agent, on their VPS kind of service, to varying degrees. I've tried a couple of them. Some of them were really clunky. Almost felt like I should just do it myself. Are you leaning in at all to that?
That actually is a good idea now that you bring it up, but we currently do not offer that service. I would gladly give you a VPS you can build on, but we definitely don't have a one button make your Claude bot, unfortunately.
Yeah. I almost think it's like not going to matter in a few months anyway. All these big LLMs are going to kind of offer it kind of out of the box, almost seems like. But yeah, we were actually just shopping for a VPS earlier today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could discuss it after if you're interested, man. But I think our signature product will be our private LLM Innova, especially with the token integration. I think that people are giving their private data, not only their health data, but their company information, classified details, you name it. Everyone's putting it in a Chat GPT, and we've already had stories of leaks of of Grok leaking a bunch of info. You could just search on Google and Google indexed. And so, it's only a matter of time where the privacy space and LLMs is going to pop off when people start getting burned.
Totally. People have no idea right now, like zero idea that they're using whatever ChatGPT, and that, like, that's basically anytime a government or whoever wants to come in and claim that data, it's going to be wide open. People don't realize that yet.
Yeah, exactly. And, we have no access to anyone's data. And it's kind of giving us an issue where if someone asks me, hey, how well is Innova doing? Like, I can't tell you because I don't know.
Very cool.
Other than people paying for it. That's about it.
Giving an update on migrations, Roots in the lead at 4.4%, Y2K at 2%, Niche at 1%, and Innova approaching 1% here. So good start, to say the least. We're going to pass it over to Mr. Wizard, who is helping operate Y2K. Mr. Wizard, I do have one question. Maybe this is related to Y2K or not. What is Shills official? I see ever since I started interacting with you, I see people talking about Shills. And how is that linked to Y2K?
Yeah, so Shills is not directly linked to Y2K. It just came from the Y2K community, just because like when I was helping lead Y2K, there was just a lot of problems that Shills needed to fix in terms of like incentivized bag working and just being able to be this community tool to facilitate that. So it stemmed from the idea of like reviving bag working culture and reviving like believing in tokens again, which is our core mission statement at Y2K, is like revive culture, which is like that's kind of link. And then the link's also like I'm like helping Y2K and I'm the dev for Shills. But Shills essentially is a community rewards platform where communities or projects can create like Shills, which is called campaigns essentially, with their own token. And then they essentially can incentivize their community to kind of bag work. So you can have one for shilling or one for meme flipping, which we're doing with Neat. And then they post that we track their engagement on X, and then they get rewarded in the project's token. So you're essentially being rewarded for the work you put in. And then it's also holder gated. So you can have like a shill that you need X amount of tokens to enter. You're rewarding your actual community for organic content. We have like very strict anti-gaming measures, anti-slot measures, just because there's no tool that was built in the space to facilitate the longevity of these assets, and everything's just for speculation trading. So we want to build something different.
Anti-slop mechanism. I love that you said that, because that was the main issue with the whole InfoFi renaissance, was that the responses lacked any type of real content. There was a lot of curation, but even the majority of it was just put through an LM tool, and eventually people just ended up ignoring it.
Yeah.
So then if you were to compose like an effective shill, what is that specifically? Is it like a reply guy strategy? Is it an individual post, a thread? Take us through the different metrics.
Yeah, so a comment about the InfoFi slot, like the reason that InfoFi essentially failed is because they just reward everyone, and they reward based on like the quality amount, right? So it's like if you post garbage or slop, you could still get rewarded. It's just like a very small amount. So then what these like in like bots and engagement farming rings that started spinning up were like, okay, we just post 100,000 times, then eventually it'll equate to like 5 quality posts, which is why essentially got shut down on X, because they were just not incentivizing the right thing. But with Shills, it's all human verified content, and you have to get every single post manually approved. So it's not like you could just post a million times and then all these posts get approved. You have to post, and then like a Shills admin or a project admin has to say, yes, this is good, or reject it with a message saying like, hey, not the best quality shill, please kind of like do something better. And we, for example, at Y2K have like a Y2K shilling one, which is essentially just high quality shilling. So we have like a content guidelines based on like comparing market dynamics, comparing like why nostalgia is like valuable in a token, and just things along the lines of that like foster originality and actual like creative thinking. And then they submit it, we accept it, and then it kind of tracks. And a lot of people have built this daily habit of just like shilling, because essentially all the tokens are based on like belief and conviction, and you need to be an active participant in the market in order to kind of have that. So the reason that Shills is powerful is because it incentivizes like the reinforcement of belief, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Very
Makes a lot of sense. So if I were to start a Shills campaign for Y2K, what's the average payment per Shills, I guess? Does it vary differently based off of if it's a reply or if it's a video, etc.?
No, so we don't have any kind of like filtration between reply to that. How it works is essentially it's kind of like a CPM, which is in like traditional marketing terms. So we have about like, I think it's like $2 per 1,000 views. But the thing with Shills is that they're dynamic, so they're based on the token amount, not the value. So for example, like DCA had a shill and they were around, I think like 800K market cap, and their like CPMs were around like $6 per 1,000 views. But then they 3x, which means their rewards 3x. So essentially they were paying like $24 per 1,000 views, and their shill budget also 3x. So you only fund like say $1,000 worth of your token, and you're willing to pay like $2 per 1,000 views, and that's just like at the current snapshot the token value. And so if your token 10x's, all the rewards 10x. So we kind of incorporate meme volatility and reflexivity in a way that like benefits the community without getting more funding from the project. And yeah, so like essentially we just have high quality shilling. It's based on engagement. So I mean, if you post a video, like it probably gets more engagement. So that's how you get paid more. But you can also we have multiple different categories. So we have shilling, which is engagement based. We have original content, which if you want like meme creation or video creation, or essentially it's you can set up a creative bounty. We're like, hey, we need like memes for this. And then you set up a shill for just original content, and that's not engagement based. Essentially users just submit and then they get paid. Eventually we want to go down the bounty path, but yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Interesting. So then let's dive a little bit into Y2K itself. Nostalgia, is it just a simple meme community where you guys are posting nostalgia of the mid 2000s? So things like skinny jeans and, PlayStation, Xbox, Halo, kind of the early, I guess, cartoons and anime, Dragon Ball Z and stuff that was from that era, or is there something more to it?
Yeah, so we post a lot of different content. I mean, we've been around for like a year and 4 months now. So our content has kind of gone through a very wide arc. I'm very passionate about kind of like art and the whole creative side. And I think that the like retro Y2K, just nostalgic aesthetics is very popular in society. And for some reason just resonates with everyone, obviously because it's nostalgia based. So I always like to make sure that like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have like creative posts that happen at 4 p.m. So normally edits and then 3D videos. And then every day, 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., we do kind of engagement style posts. So if you notice online, some of the most popular engagement that you get is just nostalgic based engagement. There's nostalgia accounts that essentially spin up and get like hundreds of thousands of views and millions of views. And so people really resonate with that. So we're kind of capturing that nostalgic engagement and posting just anything really that's nostalgic. It's not just about like 90s and 2000s, although there's this concept in society called the nostalgia cycle, where every 20 to 25 years, culture kind of resets. And then the people that are now 25, 27, around that age, they become kind of cultural tastemakers. And then they call to their like childhood and their nostalgia as like a marketing tool. I mean, which is why right now you look around, like the 90s and 2000s are pretty much everywhere you look. All the old shows are coming back, all the Pokemon IP, like Supreme's doing a collaboration with like the original Spider-Man. So people are kind of bringing this back, and nostalgia essentially is like the forefront, 90s and 2000s. So we just focus on that. But Y2K is much more about just tokenized nostalgia in general. And nostalgia is kind of on this forward loop. So like we'll be nostalgic about this conversation in a couple of years, and Y2K kind of encapsulates that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a theory that Gary V has been talking about for decades at this point, is to always go along nostalgia. That's why he was really big on baseball cards and sports cards 10, 15 years ago even.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just incredibly valuable, especially in today's age with like the acceleration of AI. And we kind of lost the idea of like a sense of community, and everything's more digitized and a lot of sloths being produced. And there's not this much attention to detail and care. And then people are kind of looking back about like the toys and the games and the movies and the music, and people put a lot more time and thought into them. And that's why these things are starting to get more valuable. I mean, you see that with the rise of just like even Pokemon cards and all this, the trading card meta. And nostalgia is also used essentially as an escape. So people kind of like call back their childhood and kind of remember the good memories. And like this is going to get incredibly more valuable as people kind of lose sense of that. So it's kind of this weird intersection between past, present, and future. And it's why we have this tagline where it says like nostalgia fuels the future, because people look back to look forward. And it's kind of Y2K is in the position that
if nostalgia sells, but now we're in crypto, this is essentially a form of tokenized nostalgia. How would that differ from the previous forms of selling nostalgia through services and trading cards to, I guess, selling and pitching nostalgia through tokenization?
Yeah. So, I mean, my high level thesis, along with many others in the space, is that the next evolution of communities is tokenized communities, because when you tokenize a community, you're able to build essentially like a financial vehicle from which the community can express their views. You can build a company treasury, you can fund it like that. So imagine if like every subreddit essentially was tokenized and had their own treasury, with their own like system, like how insane that would be. And I think it's just inevitable that this is kind of the path that things are going on. And so there's a huge nostalgia community in society and just people love it in general. And so having a tokenized representation of that is something that I think is going to be extremely powerful. But I view Y2K as essentially you're holding the, like, I guess, belief in the value of nostalgia, and you're able to represent that in a digital way. And as you kind of hold and you get more motivated by obviously tokens, and you can call them meme coins, but there's a financial motivator when you're holding an asset. And then like you attach the emotional element of nostalgia, and then it just becomes this token that you like kind of like, you don't really hold Y2K, you kind of feel it, and you have this sense of belonging with community. And it's just a cool way to do that. So I guess my thesis is just that like digital communities and being able to build like digital products, which is like Y2K, is going to be a popular trend in society.
Very interesting. I love that theory. And I think you're right. It's funny because like I talk about it with my kid who's a YouTube creator in the Minecraft space. And I've told him, like, you pick the right space because Minecraft's not going anywhere. And people are now 40 years old who played Minecraft, have been playing played Minecraft 20 years ago. It's nostalgic for them, right? And it's like you're continually creating new nostalgia as young kids, play the same game. And so certain video games that have been able to, that are kind of like over decades of time, have this like continual nostalgia loop. Like Pokemon's the perfect example. But Minecraft and a handful of others have this like infinite nostalgia loop, which is really interesting. How that works, and how, as humans, we're constantly throwing back to that, like what it is. So wait, tell us though, what's the upcoming thing we should be buying now that you see in the next like 5 to 10 years is going to really hit nostalgia wise?
I mean, I honestly, like, I think there's going to be nostalgia for just like NFTs, which is like, I just think like historic, like the good days of NFTs. Like, I think they still could be a good investment. I mean, like NFA, but I think people are going to be nostalgic about that. But in terms of, I guess, physical stuff, it's kind of hard to say what's going to be nostalgic in the future, because nostalgia is interesting in the fact that in the moment, like, things could look bleak, but nostalgia gives you this like lens to look back and realize what was actually like valuable and important. And you don't really understand what that was until you look backwards. So it's kind of hard to project like what will be, I guess, nostalgic now. But yeah,
we almost I don't know if you saw, Pokemon had their like first Lego drop like a month ago, and it was very, very tempted to throw down on that. It's just like I didn't have anywhere to store it, where you need to store it for like 20 years. I was like, forget it, but like that kind of thing where you tap in, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, you never really know how good you had it, right? That's kind of the message.
Yeah.
But
that's how it works.
You guys have a pretty unique storyline, but I think that your message is so powerful as to like why a team like you would migrate. You're showing up every day, you're posting content every day relentlessly, and you're really just looking for a little boost to kind of switch up the dynamic and earn some creator fees on the other side. And still, so probably not much is going to change internally, I assume, but externally, so much is going to change and give you so much more momentum. Do you have any kind of specific plans post-migration going forward that maybe creator fees or any of the catalysts will line up for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing is definitely the like creative fees, because when we launched Y2K, that wasn't really an option. And before, right, in a bull market, you can kind of do like your own LP and just generate fees that way. But when you're a low cap and have like zero volume into fees, then it's essentially that is wiped out. But luckily, like, creator fees changed that. And the beauty of Y2K is that we're built on such a culturally rich foundation that anyone can really tap into and use for whatever venture they want. So we have people that want to get into clothing or making stickers or making like physical Tamagotchi products. And it would be a dream, which is what we're going to make happen, to essentially have like this Y2K treasury from which we can essentially fund different community activities to use and leverage the Y2K IB to kind of grow that foundation, which is like, that's plan number one. Plan number two is obviously we're very passionate about our and really high quality content. So being able to invest back into the artist community to get even higher quality content, to get even more engagement on the account, that's also, I think, something that's going to be very valuable to not only the Y2K community, but just like to people in general, just to provide that, I guess, like gift of beauty into the world. And the third biggest one is that the creator fees allow us to have a constant flow into the shield campaigns. So we're able to use our fees to fund shield campaigns to continuously reward the community for kind of bag working and believing in the token. So like that's kind of how the closed loop happens with kind of creator fees.
Very cool. Just something that popped into my head. I don't know if you'd be interested in it, but I thought it'd be cool if you use some of the creator fees to buy some nostalgia items and merchandise and kind of like retro products, and then maybe do some giveaways of like some old school Game Boys or PS3s or Supreme t-shirts or whatever it might be. I don't know. There's so much like.
It's actually a great idea.
It'd be sick, actually.
That's a great. Yeah, we got to write that down. Sim, are you on call? We gotta write that down. That's very cool.
Yeah. Really, really cool. Love nostalgia. I'm gonna have to look into the Shills app. I think that's a pretty cool idea. I've seen people attempt it many times over the 10 years that I've been in this industry, but this one looks to be the most performant and most curated. So yeah, I'll reach out to you about that.
Thanks. Yeah, demand's through the roof. I'm like, my phone's blowing up because we're like, a lot of people. We just like blew up yesterday, so there's a lot of attention, which is always great to see.
Yeah, it is awesome to see. Last but certainly not least, who we have on stage, the Bitchy team never did show up, so just a quick refresh on the migration numbers. Actually looking really, really good. In first place is Root at 9.2%, Anova 5.8%, Y2K 3.3%, and Mitchie at 1%. Root, who's here in the lead, let's Plowed Earth, excuse me. First, let's start with just like crypto gaming in general. What is the current issue with crypto gaming? I mean, again, I've been here 10 years, and it seems like the industry has still not been able to figure out what's the right methodology to get users to practically use your crypto application and token. So what is the big issue?
Hey, yeah, so that's actually part of our origin story, because as Farmer said, the three of us were just crypto bros playing other people's games. And when we were brainstorming what to do, one of the downfalls is that the typical Web3 Solana game is, here's our NFT, use it in game to earn the token, use the token to level up your NFT to earn more. But once you max out your NFT, what use case does the token have? It becomes a race to the bottom. And that faucet model that everyone does, where you play the game to earn the token, inevitably ends up that way. We've seen other games kind of time gate leveling your NFT, and that is a great strategy, because if people max out on day 2, like, what else are you going to do? So for us, our token is it's fully out. There is no faucet in the game. If you want to play the game, you have to go to market to buy it and then go use it in the game. And then our why play the game is we have Solana up for grab on the leaderboard, right? So people are, hey, what are we actually playing for? If you're just playing for a token that's crashing to 0, we've got Solana to give out to the players who rank on our leaderboard as the incentive. We also have a PSG1 Solana Game Boy that's going to get shipped out to the first place winner. Just trying to keep the community active in what they're actually in it for. I think that's a big draw to get people going.
Yeah, definitely. I think we, all of us have been in stages now with gaming where that potential trust element, and it's not necessarily a distrust with the developers. It could just be a distrust with the market or the distrust with the space, whereby people have put funds in and enjoyed the game, and then for whatever reason, as Lendy's just said, the token either drops or goes to 0. So we were trying to effectively create a self-sustaining model, which just keeps the token where it is and yeah, allows players to kind of enjoy the game, which is where I think the biggest element is missing, just the fun of the game, where people are jumping in because they're excited to play, not just because they want to get to the top quickly whilst dumping on everybody else. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you go back to when gaming really took off back in the NFT cycle, it was the typical game, as you mentioned, which was take these two NFTs, breed them together, right? Crypto kitties, and you get this kind of new one. But then the new token then emits a fungible token, right? And then you use the fungible token to go and buy whatever the land is or the animals that are in the game to then continue to breed. And right, you try to create this like feedback loop. But the issue was that you were just diluting the entire ecosystem with just new tokens, and then the demand never really was able to sustain itself. So eventually the ecosystems would really just kind of collapse on one another. But here
Yeah.
you sounds like you guys identified that really quickly, and you're going to focus a little bit more on kind of simplicity and scarcity over, kind of I should say the flywheel mechanics of a game.
Exactly. And it's kind of taking away from the Ponzi element of things as well, where the only way to make money is by, adding more and more and more to it until the whole thing just collapses. As Lendy's mentioned, we do have a leaderboard, and the only way to get on that leaderboard, quite simply, is just to play the game. There's no hidden secret thing. There's no, whale economics where you have to buy X amount to get on the leaderboard. You just play the game. You play the game, and you hopefully will enjoy it. You'll hopefully, get involved within the community as well, because we do have a Discord that we're regularly talking on and regularly talking to people on. And then just a byproduct of that, there's some Solana at the end of it. If I say at the end of it, there's some Solana that's there for players as they progress and as they play.
Makes a lot of sense. Amber, Chris, any questions?
Gaming, man. Didn't somebody predict gaming was going to pop off this year?
That was Adam, bro. That was Adam.
It wasn't my prediction. So I'm pulling for you guys, man. I'm pulling for you guys. I guess the question I have is just because I'm interested in it. How are you guys looking at like marketing, KOL marketing? Are you thinking about marketing off of X and going into Instagram and that sort of stuff? What's the strategy?
Oh, well, so X has always been, I think, the strategy throughout the crypto space, whether it be the bull or bear market. X has always been there with it. I've not seen or known of a project like this go big with the likes of Instagram or go big with the likes of Web2 space. And I think our aim is obviously to get the game out. But because of the model that we have, it's not a race to try and upgrade your NFTs. So we're hoping as time goes on, effectively, that regardless of when you join the game, you are still just as likely to, do well in it as somebody that's joined on day one and spent X amount. Your leaderboard might change, but not. And as a result of that affects our marketing. So we haven't had to absolutely throw everything at it for the first couple of weeks and then suddenly stop because we've run out of money, and then effectively watch the token drop because we've effectively marketed it and then it suddenly drops. We can almost do that strategic marketing whereby we can gradually let the game speak for itself, hopefully, and let it grow, but obviously use X and use our player base, use the Discord server that we've already been building for years now, and hopefully let our players do the talking as well.
Yeah, I think that just like your guys' strategy of just making more simple games that everybody can play, casual gaming that, you can play in between, meetings or whatever it might be, is just the best strategy, rather than where the Web3 gaming ethos started of trying to build like StarCraft or something on the blockchain.
Yeah.
It just makes so much more sense to me. So I think that you guys are right where you need to be.
Exactly that. And it almost feels that, because we do have people out there who will regularly buy tokens, not necessarily play a game, but they've just because they see the upside of that token going up in price and then selling it when the time's right. That, and there's not a problem with that. I mean, we've all done it. We've all, you know, tried to play that game with it. But when it comes to this game, what we don't want is people who are investing and they're playing the game and they're almost then suddenly seeing the token volatility there going up and then suddenly down again. So we didn't want to throw that marketing into there massively and have that token effectively moon and then suddenly start dropping. We want to slowly build that up and have something so that we are relevant for a long period of time and we can keep marketing for a long period of time as well. With that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We're going to wrap it up here, and I'll just present one final question to both of the teams that remain on stage. We'll start with you guys, the Plowed team. If you were to point anyone listening to this to one section of your project to focus on, what should they be looking forward to over the next, we'll say, 3 to 6 months?
God, there's so much, but honestly, I would say just the addictive, going back to what Solana, I think, and what gaming should be, which is fun, in terms of the project itself and having fun whilst playing the game and having the byproduct of it being, you know, the Solana leaderboard and the tokens coming through, not it being the focus of trying to effectively make a quick buck and then dump in and then run in. I think that's the thing that for me is the most exciting thing as a gamer. I think I could speak hopefully for Lendy as well, and for Wolf, that hopefully it's just bringing a little bit of fun back to gaming and then letting everything else blossom around it naturally.
Good answer.
Pardon the pun.
Good answer. How about you, Mr. Wizard? What should everyone be focusing on within the shills or Y2K community over the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing that like the community is focused on, just people in general, is focus on things that you can control, right? We can't control external market conditions, but what we can control is building out our community layer, which is in Discord, having fun, showing up every day, submitting your post shills, earning Y2K tokens, and then watching the Y2K main account just explode from engagement. So we're focusing on the metrics that matter, not the ones that don't. And as long as we just continue to show up and have fun, we're just going to win. So that's what we got to do.
Hey, I support that. Appreciate everyone for joining us on stage today and for going through the migration. One final update here. So within the first hour of the migration, Roots at 13%, Anova at 6%, Y2K at 4%, and Mitchie a little bit above 1%. We're going to continue to grind it out, and everyone's starting off pretty good. Bad market conditions, but people do find value during these times, so continue to stick at it. And appreciate everyone for joining us. We'll see you guys very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Hell yeah. Thanks again for hosting and hosting this migration.